Days of Our Lives spoilers. Holly's Paris trip to see Nicole. Eric's plea leads to trouble. Days of Our Lives. DOLL. Spoilers reveal that Holly Jonas, Ashley Pusmas, and Tate Black, Leo Howard, have more conflict ahead of them. Tate's support for Brady Black, Eric Martsolf, is a huge reason for that conflict, but Sophia Choi, Madeline Keantz, certainly isn't helping the situation. During the week of September 30 October 4, DOLL fans can expect Holly and Sophia to have a major showdown over Tate. Holly will fume over the moves Sophia's been making, but Sophia will insist Holly is the one pushing Tate away. Sophia feels entitled to go after Tate for herself, but Holly may suspect this all goes back to her former BFF's revenge plot. If Tate ends up defending Sophia, Days spoilers suggest that'll just make matters worse. Whatever the case, Holly will be fed up with all the drama in Salem, which could be significant when Eric Brady, Greg Vaughn, makes a desperate plea. Following Holly's shouting match with Sophia, Eric will beg Holly to pay a visit to Nicole Walker, Ariane Zucker. Of course, Nicole has officially exited Days, so it looks like any mother-daughter reunion that might happen will take place off-screen. Even so, Eric might convince Holly to take a trip to Paris and at least hear Nicole out. Nicole never meant to hurt Holly by keeping the news about Eric's role in Daniel Jonas' Sean Christian demise under wraps. Since Holly will be so outraged over the Tate and Sophia mess, she might finally relent on getting out of town, just long enough to see Nicole and potentially make amends. It might also give Holly a chance to get some advice from Nicole about her love life. Holly might cool off and return with a fresh outlook, but there could be a problem. Will Sophia pounce on Tate while Holly's away? Could Tate surrender to Sophia in bed and set the stage for Holly's awful discovery once she returns home? Our Day's predictions point to Holly's Paris trip leading to trouble, so we'll pass along updates on any crossed lines. Even if Holly and Tate are on a break, she won't be pleased if he lets Sophia seduce him into a hot hookup. Days of Our Lives spoilers say Tate may blow up his relationship with Holly in a big way, so stay tuned. The cobbled streets of Paris stretch out like an endless maze beneath the soft glow of twilight, a city of romance. But for Holly Jonas, it was a city of unanswered questions. As she stepped off the plane, the cool, crisp air felt foreign against her skin, and her heart pounded with both excitement and apprehension. She was here to see her mother, Nicole Walker, but the undercurrent of mystery was impossible to ignore. Holly had spent weeks convincing herself that this trip would bring her closer to Nicole, but deep down, she feared it would only widen the chasm that had been forming between them. Paris was Nicole's new sanctuary, a place she had chosen to escape the chaos of Salem. It was supposed to be a fresh start for Nicole, a way to leave behind the ghosts of her past. But Holly knew that the City of Lights couldn't completely cleanse the scars of Nicole's history. Eric Brady had been the catalyst for Holly's unexpected journey across the Atlantic. His plea had come late one night, voice trembling over the phone, laced with desperation. "Holly, she needs you," Eric had said. "I know things have been rough, but she's struggling. She won't admit it, but she's lonely. Please, go to her. Talk to her." Holly had been reluctant. After all, Nicole had chosen to leave, to build a life far away from Salem and everyone in it, including Holly. Their relationship had always been complicated, tangled up in the tragedies and secrets that had plagued Nicole's life for as long as Holly could remember. But Eric's words echoed in her mind, and something about his tone left Holly uneasy. The reunion was not as she had imagined. Nicole stood in the doorway of her Parisian apartment, eyes wide with surprise, a glass of wine balanced precariously in one hand. Holly had barely knocked before the door swung open, revealing her mother in a state of disarray. "Holly?" Nicole blinked, her voice a mix of disbelief and exhaustion. "Hey, Mom," Holly replied, her voice soft but steady. She stepped into the apartment, the faint scent of jasmine lingering in the air. It was elegant, just as she expected, a reflection of the life Nicole had tried to cultivate here, but there was an undeniable sadness that clung to the space, hidden beneath the surface. For a moment, the two women stood in silence, the weight of unsaid words hanging between them like a fragile thread. It was Nicole who finally broke the quiet, gesturing toward the living room with a tired smile. "Come in, make yourself at home," Nicole said, though there was an edge of awkwardness in her voice. Holly nodded, dropping her bags by the door and following her mother into the tastefully decorated room. She sat on the plush couch, feeling the tension between them grow. "I wasn't expecting you," Nicole said, setting her glass down and turning toward Holly. "What brought you to Paris?" Holly took a deep breath, knowing this conversation was going to be more difficult than she had anticipated. "Eric called me," she admitted, watching as Nicole's expression shifted at the mention of his name. "He's worried about you." Nicole scoffed, crossing her arms defensively. "Of course, he is. Eric is always worried about something." "It's more than that," Holly pressed, leaning forward. "He thinks you're struggling, and honestly, from what I'm seeing, I think he's right." The words hit Nicole like a punch, and for a moment, her steely facade crumbled. She sank into the armchair opposite Holly, her eyes fixed on the floor. "I didn't want you to see me like this," Nicole murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. "I thought I could handle things on my own, that being here would help me escape everything. But I can't escape myself, can I?" Holly's heart ached for her mother, for all the pain Nicole had endured, but she also felt frustration bubbling beneath the surface. "Why didn't you tell me?" Holly asked, her voice sharper than she intended. "Why did you push me away?" Nicole sighed, running a hand through her hair. "Because I didn't want to drag you into my mess again. You've been through enough because of me." "That's not your decision to make," Holly shot back, her voice firm. "I'm your daughter, Mom. I want to be here for you, but you have to let me in." The vulnerability in Holly's words broke through Nicole's defenses, and tears welled in her eyes. She hadn't cried in front of Holly in years, always determined to be the strong one, the protector. But now the weight of her loneliness was too much to bear. "I'm sorry," Nicole whispered, her voice cracking. "I'm so sorry, Holly." Holly stood, crossing the room to sit beside her mother. She wrapped her arms around Nicole, feeling the tension melt away as they embraced. "It's okay," Holly whispered back. "We'll figure this out together." For a brief moment, it felt like everything would be okay. But trouble had a way of finding Nicole no matter where she went. Unbeknownst to both of them, Eric's plea for Holly to visit had set off a chain of events that would soon unravel their fragile reconciliation. As night fell over Paris, the city glittering outside the window, Holly couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. She glanced at her phone, a text from Eric lighting up the screen. "Be careful. There's more going on than you know." Holly's heart raced as she stared at the message, the ominous words sending a chill down her spine. What had Eric meant by that? What was he not telling her? The trip to Paris had been meant as a step toward healing, but now, Holly couldn't help but wonder if she had walked into something far more dangerous than she anticipated. Trouble was on the horizon, and it was heading straight for her and Nicole.